Hello everyone, welcome to Blue Dragon Actuarial. So I hope you have seen my last video, that is what insurance product an actuary should own, and that knowledge would also be used here. If you have not seen the last video, that's a very fun and interesting video that you should see. In fact, many of my my brother recommended that video to his my brother is an IFS officer, Indian Forest Service, and he recommended that video to a lot of his colleagues, and they are tremendously benefited by that video. A few of them sent me some messages, so that's why I know. So today's video was related to, or is related to, ULIP versus mutual fund, one of the thing that is kind of confusing to many people. And I think this video would clear any doubt that you have, like how ULIP and mutual fund are kind of same or different. So without wasting any time, let's go on. So ULIP, the basic idea is ULIP was saving product, which are providing insurance as well, right? So it allows policyholder to participate in investment risk. So like participating product, ULIPs are also those products which are launched by the insurance company at the initial phase, especially if the market is rising, like when COVID happened. And that point of time, if someone has sold ULIP, then that's a good idea. That's a smart idea because the market was supposed to go up and people would have bought ULIP and got good returns, right? So that would create additional new business because of the reputation or because of the word of mouth of ULIP giving good returns. So when the market is like that, and if some company starting out, like if I would be opening my own life insurance company, I will start with ULIP product, especially when I'm seeing that the market is going to go up. So then at that point of time, I would sell ULIP. Now, why ULIP is similar to participating product? I leave that question to you, because in participating product also people participating in the investment risk and all other risk as well. And once again, it goes back to the same question, like in participating product, 90% of the profit are given to the policyholder and only 10% it is retained by the insurer. So why an insurance company will sell that? There is already a video in my channel for that, and you might also want to think over that. If you don't know the answer to this question, you can write in the comment section and I can reply back on that. At all, but first of all, you should not request people for spoon feeding. You should search for the video in my channel, that would be very easily available, and you should see that video and understand why an insurance company would start with participating product, or in this case a newly product. How, what benefit an insurance company would get if policyholder participate in the investment risk, or if the investment risk is kind of passed on to the policyholder. So then you will have a fair idea what you want to do if you are the appointed actuary of a company. Now, ULIPs are very flexible with respect to premium. Some products have feature like you can pay a top up premium, you can pay a small amount of premium as well. Sometime uh, you may not need to pay the premium after some time period. There would be some other advantages as well, etc. Charge structure can change. It might be discretionary to the company as well at some point of time. So that's how ULIP is a very flexible sort of product, right? So ULIP, the concept of ULIP was kind of taken, some portion of it was taken from mutual fund. Like mutual fund created ULIP, like mutual fund with the insurance, and we'll see more detail of that. But mutual fund kind of created the, like the concept of ULIP is taken from mutual fund, and the flexibility part is taken from universal life, which is more prevalent in the US or Canada side, right? So moving on, in ULIP, some portion of the premium goes to the insurance cover because it provides protection. Like some portion would be for the insurance cover, and the same some portion would be kind of invested in the market, right? So whenever you put a premium, there would be some charges. That charges would go to the non-unit fund, right? So ULIP product has two funds. One would be called unit fund, in which suppose you put 100 rupees, 20% would be deducted. That would be called bid allocation spread, and 80 rupees would flow. Then 80 rupees would be invested in different funds, and some other charges would be deducted, like fund management charge, policy administration charge, etc. So for whatever service you are providing, those charges would be deducted from the unit fund, right? So unit fund belongs to the policyholder, which is the point that I've mentioned here. Anything that belongs to the unit fund is policyholder money. That's why it is also the reserve. Like unit fund is equal to unit reserve. That is a liability for the insurer. Insurer do not have anything to do with the unit fund. Even the insurer cannot take 1 rupee from the unit fund, but the charges flows into the non-unit fund, and the expenses that insurance company incur, like the wages, the salaries, the rent, etc. All those are kind of uh, paid through the non-unit fund, like through the charges. The charge should be enough to pay for those. And if there is a death benefit, usually obviously there would be death benefit, otherwise it would not be ULIP, right? So if there is death benefit and the death benefit is higher than the unit fund, then that amount, which is the higher portion, that is also paid from the non-unit fund, right? So non-unit fund belongs to the shareholder or the company, and whatever profit or loss happens in the non-unit fund, that goes to the shareholder. So shareholder would be interested in the non-unit fund, policyholder would be interested in the unit fund, right? And there is also a concept of non-unit reserve, but that's would be slightly more difficult, and that will take us off track from this topic. So I'll not discuss that, here, but maybe in a different video I'll discuss that topic. I can assure you that non-unit reserve, this concept is unknown to many people. Even those people, and recently people are clearing these papers with lot of marks, but not with lot of concepts. So they are just getting marks without the concept, and we all know why, right? So that's what unit fund and non-unit fund is. Non-unit fund belongs to the shareholder once again, and it is a combination of charges, which is the outflow, minus expenses, which is the inflow, and minus death benefit over and above the unit fund. And in the unit fund, it would be the outflow would be the charges that would be deducted, and the inflow would be the premium, right? Usually ULIP product has a lock-in period of 5 years. That's by regulation, IRDA regulation. And premature withdrawal or surrender can result in penalty charges. In fact, you cannot withdraw ULIP or surrender ULIP before 5 years. It will put into something called discontinued fund, and then after 5 years you can withdraw the money. You can place the request, but the amount would be paid to you after 5 years only. And unit fund belongs to the, like what I've mentioned. So I mean, this slide is kind of covered. Moving on. So ULIP taxation, right? How the taxation is kind of concerned now in India. If you've seen my previous video, I mentioned that in India, people purchase insurance product just for benefit. This is that benefit. Premiums that are paid, right? That is eligible for taxation, right? And I think there is a regulation that the premium, the sum assured has to be at least 7 times. If that ratio is not maintained, then it would not be then it would not be eligible for tax benefit. But the premiums that are paid for ULIP would be benefit would be eligible for section 80C tax benefit, and up to 1.5 lakhs. So if you are paying up to 1.5 lakhs, that you can claim as tax benefit, right? Maturity proceeds from ULIP are tax free provided the sum assured is at least 10 times, right? So last time I mentioned that for premium to be tax, like considered for the eligible for the tax deduction, it has to be at least 7 times. In this case, it has to be 10 times, right? So usually insurance company would only create products which are at least 10 times, right? Or maybe more than that. So that's why policyholder will also get the tax benefit if the from the maturity, right? And from the sum assured, because the maturity proceed would be from the ULIP would be tax free. Now the maturity proceed can be different from the sum assured, right? Because maturity proceed would be the final amount that would be in the unit fund, right? And sum assured can be more or less than that, but the relation is between premium and sum assured. This is one thing that you have to kind of understand, right? So maturity proceed can be totally different from sum assured. It can be lower than sum assured, it can be equal to sum assured, it can be more than sum assured. Being equal, probability is very less, right? So moving on, if the policy has been enforced for 5 years, for a period of 5 years, right? So obviously, if you have not surrendered the policy or lapsed the policy, then the partial withdrawal amount does not exceed 20% of the sum assured, then it is tax free. So you can also make partial, as I mentioned, that ULIP is very flexible. It is created to align to your needs. Some needs might arise to withdraw money, and if that withdrawal is less than 20%, then it is tax free, right? Similarly, there is another concept called switching. So you can switch funds. So in ULIP, there might be multiple fund, like Fund A, which is invested in equity, Fund B, which is invested in bonds, and Fund C, which might be hybrid of equity and bond, right? So the 100 rupees that you pay as premium, 20 rupees will be taken out as bid allocation split, 80 rupees will be invested. Now this 80 rupees can be invested, say 20% in Fund A, 20% in Fund B, and remaining 60% in Fund C, right? So it can be invested, it can be kind of done like that. So you can switch your fund. You can just make like all the investment that you have made in Fund A, you can withdraw that and put it in fund C, right? So then that would also be considered as, that is also called switching, but the concept is kind of similar to partial withdrawal. Like that would be considered as you are withdrawing fund from fund A and you are putting it in fund B, right? Fund C, right? So in that case also, if you are making withdrawal, if you are making a switch which is more than 20% of the sum assured, then it will not be tax free because it is kind of treated like that, right? But if it is not like that, then if it is not exceeding 20% of the sum assured, usually it doesn't, like nobody would like to kind of make like, and if you want to make those switches, you would like to make those switches in different years, right? So, and also there would be a limit for making the number of switches within the fund. But in anyways, those are different regulations. That's a different IRDA regulation altogether. But if your partial withdrawal is less than 20% of the sum assured, then it is tax free, right? Finally, the death benefit, which will be received by the nominee. You as a policyholder, you will never receive your death benefit, right? So that under section 1010D of the income tax is completely tax free. There will be not a single rupee of tax charge. Also, if the policy is surrendered before the completion of the 5 years, right? Before the completion, the surrender value is taxable as income. However, if the policy is surrendered after 5 years, then the surrender value is tax free. So that's why only after 5 years you will see a surge in policies, right? So that is something that actuaries has to deal with on regular basis, especially in Indian companies. After 5 years, there will be a surge in the policy because the lock-in period has end. Now, many times the distributors or the agents, they also suggest their policyholders to kind of surrender the policy, right? Because they have also got good amount of commission by that point of time. That's the reason many companies are moving away from high initial commission, and they are moving to probably lower or higher higher renewal commission and lower initial commission, right? Or there might be commission clawback, where the commission that is given, some portion of it can be taken back if the policy is surrendered, so that this kind of malpractices is kind of avoided, right? So that's about ULIP. So basically, just summing up this slide, the maturity proceed would be non-taxable depending on the relation between the premium and the sum assured, right? Once again, the partial withdrawal, the fund switches, those are non-taxable if it is within a certain percentage of the sum assured. And so you can see that sum assured is very, very important in ULIP, right? So everything is kind of determined by the protection component, right? Maturity is the investment component, sum assured is the protection component. And once again, the death benefit, that is completely tax free under section 1010D, right? So moving on to the mutual fund, right? So mutual fund are purely investment products, right? There is no insurance component here. And mutual fund only have management fees and other charges like exit load. Like when you are exiting, there would be some amount that will be taken, and also the expense ratio. In ULIP product, the expense would be deducted from the non-unit fund, right? But mutual fund do not have such segregation, so there will only be single fund, and everything will be deducted from that, right? Management fees will be deducted, other charges would be deducted, like exit load and expense. Exit load would only come into picture when you are exiting, right? So some amount would be deducted, and expense would be once again the same thing, the salary, the rent, lighting, etc., right? So it is very important to understand the types of mutual fund, because you can only invest in a single type of mutual fund. Unlike in ULIP, you can invest in multiple funds at the same time, right? But if you are investing in mutual fund, you can only invest in one type of mutual fund, like equity fund, which primarily invest in equity funds. And the equity mutual fund can be different types: blue chip equity mutual fund, or growth stock, or value stocks, right? Sometimes some might be penny stocks, etc. These days I have seen even startup stocks, right? Those who are not listed in the market, you can also some by some way you can also participate in their profit or their growth story. Those sort of mutual fund are also there these days. Debt fund. So debt fund is basically the fixed income securities, government bond, corporate bonds. These are like the safest vehicles, right? But they will give you more return than the maybe the fixed deposit or the saving account. And they are suitable for investors who are looking for regular income, right? Because you'll get the coupon payment, and you'll also get the capital preservation, because there is no capital risk in debt fund. That's why it's fixed, right? Hybrid funds, mix of equity and debt, I think quite understandable. Index fund, once again, index fund is like Nifty, Bank Nifty. In fact, in stock market, you can trade something which are exchange traded funds, which are called Bs. So Nifty Bs or Bank Nifty Bs or Nifty IT Bs, you can actually not trade Nifty IT in stock market, but you can trade Nifty IT through Bs. These days, the Nifty IT is going pretty, like doing pretty well. And this is not a recommendation for buying Nifty ITBs, but these days just an example, right? And if you, I don't know if you have read that, but there are two types of fund: closed fund and open funds, right? I am not going to go into detail of that, but exchange traded funds are type of mutual funds, and they trade in the exchange, like National Stock Exchange. They trade in the exchange, and you can buy and sell like any normal share. Sector funds, once again, there are some sector based like technology, healthcare. There might be insurance sector as well, banking sector as well. So like that. International funds, now you can even invest in the funds of foreign companies. Like as Indians, you directly, there is an exchange in India through which you can directly invest. There are also some apps these days through which you can invest in the foreign countries, but there are a lot of entry barriers. There are a lot of charges that you have to pay, and it's not easy. And especially in US, you can partial like invest in partial shares. Like you in India, you have to purchase one share. For example, one share of Reliance. You cannot purchase zero point 0.5 share of Reliance. But in US, you can purchase that. You can purchase zero point 0.5 share of Apple, because those shares are so costly that I mean it's very difficult to purchase only one share, right? So you can purchase in zero point 0.5 shares, right? And it's difficult to do that through the other media, like directly participating. So only for international shares, if you are interested in that, then I think I'll suggest personally, if I have to invest in international shares from India, then I'll do this international mutual fund. I think that's a very good idea, especially when the market has fallen. Like these days, people are saying that the US economy is in recession. So I think this is the best time if you want to purchase this. Once again, this is not a recommendation. Use your own brain, right? So that's how you learn. But I mean, this is a good idea. Money market funds, once again, these are short term, right? And there are once again, these are also fixed sort of securities, but these will represent treasury bills, certificate of deposit. So if you are if a mutual fund can also invest in those, and these are very suitable for investors who want to earn a very modest return. And this mutual fund will keep on changing because these are kind of short term, right? So treasury bill maybe for 60 days, after 60 days another treasury bill will be rolled forward. In this way it will continue, right? So these are the basic types of mutual fund, right? Equity, hybrid, bonds. So these are the kind of types of mutual fund. I hope that is clear. Now, mutual fund taxation, right? So in mutual fund, taxation is just like share market. There will be long-term capital gain and there will be short-term capital gain, right? So short-term capital gain is taxed as 15%, and long-term capital gain up to 1 lakh, it is not taxed. But if it is beyond 1 lakh, then it will be taxed at 10%, right? And for debt mutual fund, that is taxed at 20%, but subject to indexation. And now what is indexation? Like index should be followed. There will be an index. So suppose there is an inflation index, right? And the inflation index shows that the by 10 in 10 years the inflation index has grown by say 40%, right? And your fund has grown by say 60%. So you have to pay tax only on the 20%, not on the entire 60%, right? So in debt mutual fund, although tax is higher 20% as compared to 10% in equity mutual fund, but you have to pay usually you have to pay lower tax because of that indexation benefit, right? That is given because that is beating the inflation, and you should not consider, like, inflation should be removed while considering your gain. But equity, that is not given in equity, because equity is considered as an investment vehicle which is supposed to beat inflation, but that is not so for fixed income securities, and that's why that benefit is kind of given. Once again, dividends that are received from mutual funds, there was a time when dividend are not taxed. In fact, in Britain, from which our taxation system has been derived, dividends are still not taxed, because dividend is paid from post-tax profit. And if dividends is taxed, then it means that there is double taxation. Like dividend is profit is taxed by at the end at company's end, and then it is taxed at investors end. But our government has kind of thought of introducing this, and now even a single rupee of dividend will be taxed, and they are subject to, once again, equity mutual fund is 10%, and debt mutual fund is 25% plus surcharge and cess. and search agencies usually are 12.5%, 7.5%. Don't remember that, but there will be excess charge. And once again, indexation benefit would be provided, right? STD is a tax levied on sale and purchase of securities. Now, this is one charge that is only present in Indian market. If you go to US market, if you go to Bangladesh market, if you go to Pakistan stock market, there is nothing there. Even if you go to South Africa stock market, Israel stock market, there is nothing called STD. This is a figment of imagination of our previous finance ministers who have created STD. And I honestly, I don't understand why we have to pay tax on sell and purchase, right? It's almost like you are saying that you cannot sell, you cannot purchase security. I don't understand this, especially when we are paying brokerage on both the sell and and on selling and purchasing. Never made any sense to me. I hope that in some budget this would be taken off, but yeah, I mean, I don't understand why this is there. Anyways, indexation benefit is available for debt mutual fund, which adjusts the price, purchase price of the mutual funds for inflation, as I've mentioned, right? And this reduces the capital gain tax liability. This is one point that I've already covered. So I think this is quite clear. So ULIP versus mutual fund, right? Now the main topic comes. So we have seen what is ULIP, and ULIPs are actually created based on mutual fund, like that same concept. As I mentioned, the flexibility part is taken from universal life, and the fund concept is taken from mutual fund, right? So ULIPs are unit link, offer the flexibility to invest in multiple funds, as I mentioned. You typically offer a range of funds, so different investment objective and risk profiles, such as equity funds, debt fund, balanced funds. So you can invest in, as I mentioned, a portion in equity fund, a portion in debt fund. You can also switch between funds, right? You can also move to only single fund, then it would be same as a mutual fund, right? But in mutual fund, there will be only one type of fund and not a combination fund. So it can either be a equity fund. Obviously, in case of hybrid mutual fund, there will be a combination, right? But other than that, but that is also one type of fund. Like that is also regarded as one type of fund, because in ULIP also there can be a hybrid fund in addition to the equity fund and the bond fund, right? So there can be a hybrid fund as well. So that is like mutual fund cannot be a combination of multiple things. It has to be one. Its nature has to be one thing. So ULIP comes with various charges, as I mentioned, premium allocation charges, fund management charges, mortality charges. Now this mortality charges is special for ULIP. It is not charged in mutual fund. Administration charges, surrender charges, right? So all these, especially the mortality charges, special for ULIP. So these charges are not that high, and there are limited charges, very less number of charges in mutual fund. So ULIP are charged a lot more because it has an insurance component, right? And because of the insurance component, it has higher expenses, so it has to be met with higher number of charges. And that's why ULIP as a saving product is not as good as investment, and obviously that is as good as mutual fund, because obvious that is also obvious, because the ULIP product provides double benefit, right? Insurance as well as investment, whereas mutual fund only provides one benefit, that is investment, right? So it is quite natural that ULIP would have a reduced investment benefit, but that's how the story goes. And mutual funds obviously are more transparent, because in ULIP there will be two funds, right? Unit fund and non-unit fund. You don't understand, like other than an actual student, and these days even actual student don't understand that. So other than that, I mean, mutual funds are very transparent because they have only one fund. So even the things that are getting deducted are clearly visible. In ULIPs, there might be some charges, there might be some hidden charges, etc. Hidden charges can be there in mutual fund as well, but usually they are more transparent because there is only one fund and it is easier to grasp. So the conclusion is obviously, as I mentioned, mutual fund is a better investment vehicle, right? For protection, so if you want insurance protection, as I mentioned in my previous video as well, buy term product for life insurance protection, and then for saving, you should buy mutual fund, right? And if you want to invest in multiple funds, right, like in ULIP, you have the option, you can purchase multiple mutual fund, right? Because and then that mutual fund would grow a lot better, because the charges and expenses would be much lesser, right? And also mutual fund are specialized for investment, right? Unlike insurance company, although insurance company has an investment department, but they do not specialize in that, right? And there might be some other regulations that is applicable for insurance companies which might not be applicable for mutual fund. However, nothing beats learning and investing or trading and participating in stock market directly, right? So probably that I already have a channel called Blue Dragon Trading where I trade, and I share my videos. So if you have learned that every company in the world comes back to stock market directly or indirectly. As for example, Apple is a tech company, but Apple also invests in stock market. Apple also purchases his own share. Apple also purchases bonds, right? So everything, every money in the world will come to the stock market, whether it is a pharmacy company, whether it's a chocolate company, whether it's a tech company, right? Every market would be in the every money would be in the market in some way or the other. Everyone should invest in the market, right? So there is nothing better than learning, investing or trading. And if you can participate directly in the stock market, that's the best thing, right? But if you do not have the capability, if you do not have the time, and then I think mutual fund would be much better for investment, right? And as I mentioned, if you also want the protection, then you should go and purchase a term product, and then your premium would also be much less, right? And not, I mean, premium for term would be much less. And if you can buy, or you can do a SIP, like systematic investment plan for mutual fund, every month some amount would be deducted. That would also uh, create a good habit for you, right? So I think that's how that should be. I should have done that, right? Let me know in the comment section what is your thought process. Would you want to still go ahead with ULIP rather than mutual fund? Yes, why? Right? What is the benefit of ULIP over mutual fund? There is not much, like, is there a tax consideration? Maybe because ULIP the maturity benefit is completely tax free, if there is a certain proportion between the premium and sum assured. But in mutual fund that is not the case. It will be either charged a long term tax or a short term tax. Is because of that reason would you consider investing in, or maybe in paying the purchase for ULIP rather than mutual fund? You can write that in the comment section with your proper logic, like why maybe ULIP might be better. Because as per my analysis, I believe mutual fund would be better investment choice as compared to ULIP. So I hope you are now clear with the difference between ULIP and mutual fund. In case of any question, you can write in the comment section. And yeah, please hit the like button. Please share this video with all your friends like my brother did, and they can also learn a lot. You can also share this with your parents. And thanks for watching this channel. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for all the positive feedback and the negative feedback. And yeah, see you soon.